It's time, and you've tuned into the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. Now here's your host, Bobby C.
Hello, and welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. I want to welcome you here today. I want to just say that we have two wonderful guests that are with us that are going to be able to chat football. As yes, it is gridiron time, and boy, it's that time of year where people start getting excited about the football season. And these two guys have worked together for a long time. And talk about two guys who can be able to mesh together and really bring a great product to our folks here in this area is pretty special. And we'll talk to them in just a moment. Want to thank our sponsors, Hubie's, that good old tavern and restaurant on Avenue A in Turner's Falls. Want to thank Shawn Hubert for that. It's always great to be able to have him be a sponsor here on our show. We also want to thank Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield, Mark Snow and the staff over at the Four Leaf Clover Restaurant located in Berniston, and by Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield. Special thanks goes out to Philippe Simone, our special producer. Also, Johnny Meisner is going to be in with us, too. He'll be helping us out as well. So we're glad to have these folks available. And, of course, we're on the FCAT down in South Deerfield with Chris Collins. Gentlemen.
Bobby.
Jeff Tirrell. Shawn Hubert. The guys who have been the voice of this area in radio for almost
72 years.
I was going to say for almost 30, right?
20. This is year number 28 for Hubie and I together. Yeah.
28 years, guys.
28, yeah.
That's an amazing, me and my wife have been married 28 years, and you guys have had that marriage together for 28 years as well.
Married at the mic. Yeah.
Married at the mic, as they say. That's Absolutely. Right. Guys, there's been a lot of changes in 28 years. If you guys look back to where it all began for you guys and how football was, and everything was all Saturday afternoon football back in those days, and if you had a Friday night game, that was considered a treat. Mm-hmm. Now, we've pretty much got every single school on board with Friday night football.
Yeah, Franklin County Tech, Friday night, their first home night football game, and long time coming. They're pumped for it, and justifiably so. It's going to be great.
Well, and we were talking about it. It's in this state where most of the programs are down as far as, obviously how many kids are participating. That's a positive sign for Franklin Tech. That's a sign that they're going to continue to grow and go after it. And they do a great job over there. So congratulations to them. And I'm super glad we're going to be there. I remember being in Greenfield when they put the lights up back in, what was that,
1995.
Was it? Yeah. So we were there then, and very proud to be there Friday night at Franklin Tech. A great step forward for the program. Joe Gamache guy is great, and kids will play their hearts out.
And he has done such a great job with that program, period. As the athletic director, he has really done a great job with being able to be competitive and going out and putting independent schedules against better teams. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that the Tech School is now playing our teams. Remember, for all those years, guys, we always felt like the Tech School got sort of slated because all of our school games that we would do would be matchups between the locals. But when you're playing against all those teams from Springfield and Westfield Tech and McCann, Dean Tech, it makes it really hard to try to schedule those kind of games. Mm-hmm. Where now they're playing against all these local teams, the Mohawks and the Turners and Greenfield and all that. So now it's made it a lot easier for the Tech School to get some coverage that they deserve after all these years, which is wonderful. And you guys are going to have them for week 1 of this season.
Yep, Mohawk Warriors, and it's interesting, with the great job that Joe and his crew over there have done with that whole athletic program, by the way, not just the football program, but it's interesting, though, since they're Franklin County's Tech School, they draw athletes from all over the place. A lot of times when they play Mohawk, those Tech kids are playing a lot of guys that they played, youth sports with up in the West County, but now they're going head-to-head because they have drawn a lot of athletes away from Mohawk and some other schools to really beef up their own program.
We've seen brothers play against brothers. We've seen cousins play against cousins, and that's just the nature of that, having that school available to people throughout the county.
But look what it's done for the Tech School sports program, though. Mm-hmm. These athletes that are looking to try to find a trade or trying to do something a little different are taking the leap and going over to the Industrial Boulevard over in Turner's Falls, and they're taking advantage of a great opportunity. And that work program they have is pretty incredible, where you can go to school and you can still make money as a junior and senior in high school. That's pretty cool.
The school itself is doing
nice extra cash for those kids, and experience. It's that hands-on experience that those kids are getting as well. Yep. And you really look at at what the tech school has really been able to provide for the kids here at Franklin County, it's been pretty special. And I think it's going to be a great time for the opening ceremony on Friday night. I'm hoping to get over there. Got a pretty crazy weekend with a lot going on with the Franklin County Fair. I got a lot of things I'm going to be doing, but I'd like to try to get over there. Even if I get over for the second half, it'll be nice to be a part of that opening ceremony of everything.
I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see how it looks.
Yeah,
I know.
It'll be very cool.
We have been there so many times on Saturday afternoons. It's going to be a very different vibe. It'll be unique. It'll be a really cool vibe, though. I think. And Kevin Hollister, their PA announcer, who doesn't really even need the PA system.
No. He doesn't.
Let's be honest.
He doesn't.
He is off the charts excited about this.
Loves this.
And everyone
He's
else is.
fantastic.
And you know what I love about him is he almost acts like the play-by-play guy on the mic. You know how we normally have PA guys wherever we go. There's always a PA person who's doing the game or whatever. But Kevin Hollister is quite the special guy.
He lets people know what's going on.
Yes, he does.
His anthem is still the best in the county. I don't care.
It sure is, and he takes it with pride. Yes, he does.
So the plan is that Shawn and I will do the pregame show, and then once the game begins, we'll just use our crowd mic, put it in front of Kevin. Hubert and I will kick back, have a couple of burgers.
Yeah, that'd be great. They do bring us burgers. They're very nice there. Yeah, the burgers are
very
great.
nice.
And just watch the game, and we still collect our paycheck.
That'd be good.
What a deal that is.
It's an awesome deal.
We still talk about it like we do anyway.
All right, we'll take a break. Also, we talked about the fact that back 28 years ago, guys, there was a lot more industry, there was a lot more growth, and a lot more people in this area, and there was a lot more students, a lot more kids. Families were able to have 4 or 5 kids in a family 28 years ago when you guys got started.
And there was no internet. Gaming systems were laughable compared to what kids are playing now.
Oh, no doubt.
Kids played video games, but not like they do
today. If you could afford them. I mean, those things weren't cheap.
They weren't, and a lot of the families weren't going to spend the money on that. They weren't.
No.
All kinds of diversions that exist today that did not exist when Shawn and I first started. So in some ways, I mean, it is still football. We're still playing 11 on 11. In some parts of the country where the numbers have dropped so far, they've gone to 7 on 7 leagues, that kind of thing. We haven't gone there. I hope to never see that. But yeah, times have definitely changed. 1991 to today, in some ways it's a completely different scenario now.
And obviously, what we're going to have to move on to now is what we're going to see with Pioneer and Turner's Falls this year. Where, Pioneer. What a great job they did, too, bringing that football program back. Mike Dupree and Gaff and the fellows, Dick Howe, those guys were part of the original crew. They lost a Super Bowl in heartbreaking fashion, and then they came back and won a Super Bowl, and that was so fun. Curtis Weaver, watching that kid run, the NSEC, those guys.
Great player.
But they had great coaching, and they had a lot of support. And we've seen, again, with the numbers that dwindled there, now they had to completely can that football program. Probably never going to come back to Pioneer.
I think it's over. I think that Pioneer already lost their football program years ago. Now they end up bringing it back, and now they got rid of it again, and I think this time is probably going to be for good.
So to co-opt the kids down to Turner's Falls made a lot of sense. Turner's Falls has been a strong program, but they were very down in numbers last year, too. I think they started with, 18 kids, maybe finished up with 15, 16 kids, and so to do that makes sense. It'll make them competitive, too. It'll allow the kids that want to play ball. I mean, I know they're not going to have the Panther on their helmet, and they'd like to, and they should, but they'll be able to go down and play for Turner's Falls, and it'll help them compete. 5
student athletes are coming down to Turner's to play for Turner's Falls this fall, Pioneer players. But I'm just thinking down the road, they're going to graduate a lot of seniors. Who's coming up behind, guys? And not just at Turner's Falls High School, Mohawk, Greenfield. It's been a while since Greenfield's had a roster of 35 kids, say. They've been struggling right around that 26 athlete mark. If that, you can live with that, but if you have a graduating class of, say, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids, and you only have 3 or 4 freshmen coming up, and middle school athletes that may not play at the high school level. There's so many kids that they just go on to do something else. They get footballed out. They played Pop Warner, middle school. They're done. They're going to play another sport, or they're just not going to play a fall sport. I am really concerned about the future. I'm not saying that we're going to see a co-op Franklin County football team.
Well, we might someday.
But, maybe we will.
Guys, I think you're going to see it.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see it because look what happened with Greenfield High School hockey. It's a Franklin County hockey league now. Yeah. And look how good we did. Look how good the kids did as a Franklin County group.
Oh, yeah.
We have good post 81 baseball when we do all Franklin County kids to pick for the Legion
Very
team.
competitive.
We have good athletes, but the problem is it's in small numbers at a bunch of different schools, guys. That's what I'm trying to say. There's 2 here, there's 2 here, there's 3 here, there's 2 here, there's 1 here. And when we put them all together, they're darn good.
Well, you talked about, Turner's Falls. They graduated a dozen seniors, remember, a couple of years back. I mean, they had 12 seniors, and they almost didn't survive that. I mean, that was a big class of kids that came through, and then they were gone. And you're right, there was 1 freshman on that roster last year for Turner's Falls. So, yeah, where are the other kids going to come from? But in this case, where you've got, Wyatt Keith. I mean, that kid's a back. I mean, that kid's going to run. They're going to use him.
1,000 yards last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And very different than Bryce last year, going from Pioneer down to Frontier. He became a part of that system, but he was behind Landry and a bunch of guys. This kid's going to come in and be an immediate impact on this football team.
Oh, I agree.
The way Dodge threw the ball at the end of last year, and with this kid, the way he's able to run, if they can block for him, and just these extra 5 kids are going to make a huge difference in this football team this season.
Right, but think about it. The 5 kids are 5 kids that want to play football and that have been committed. Absolutely. So now you got 5 athletic kids coming to your program. Yep. So that is always a plus.
Yes.
It's not like you got 5 kids who just said, you know what, I want to play football because we don't have it at our school. I just want to play.
I never played before.
Now you got kids.
Well, and hopefully they'll get some of them too.
You have to.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you'll get a
how
kid
can
or
you
two
build? How can you build on your program if you don't have participants to be able to? And the big question is will Chris LaPointe want to stick around after this season with everything that's going on? There's a lot going on. And the biggest thing that people need to understand about Chris LaPointe, he has a very athletic son. His son is a very good athlete. And I really believe that one of these days, Chris is just going to say, I want to start going and spending time watching my son play sports.
That's been
and I don't blame him.
No one should begrudge him.
No.
But Turner's Falls would be losing, obviously, an outstanding coach. He and his staff, and what I like about that, in football especially, there is something to be said for the whole rah-rah, let's get these guys fired up. But the coaching, he did, for all the great teams that he's had, and going to state tournaments and everything, he's had a great run. We all know he's had an outstanding run. His best coaching job probably was last year when they had graduated everyone. They finished above 500.
They didn't have a starter. Anybody that had started the year before. I don't think they had one kid that started.
They started all over, and here's the key. Again, rah, get these guys fired up. That carries you only so long. It's coaching. It's those subtle line play, having a good offensive line. Teaching how to play the game.
Want to give you an example. An example, Jeff. Perfect example of a kid. You guys know, because we talked about this. My nephew, Ryan Campbell, last year, never played football in his life, ever, guys. Organized football,
Did a great job.
The first 2 games of the year, he sat the bench. He didn't even play because he was learning the book. He didn't know the plays.
He was learning during the week.
He needed to learn during the week for the first couple of weeks to be ready. All of a sudden, by mid-season, the kid's playing great defense. He ends up making all league for defensive. He ends up getting the ball. He's running the ball. They were doing, these really cool little plays where they were running guys like Ryan. And, running guys like Ryan was something that was very different for a guy like Coach LaPointe to be able to take one of these new guys and being able to put him in a spot like that where he ends up really, as a first-year player, taking on roles that he never has been able to do before.
Oh, and that's coaching.
That is coaching.
That's teaching and coaching, and that's something that Chris LaPointe has always been excellent at. The amount of time that man puts into this job is incredible. I mean, he's a coach, but it's his life. It really is. So you don't find many guys that put in the effort and that are as good as as he is. And I wouldn't be shocked if this was Chris's last year. I mean, I know he's been holding on the last few years, and I know every year he's been saying, this might be it. And I know in his heart he doesn't want it to be, but at some point it's going to have to happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if this truly was Chris's last year.
Yeah.
And as you said, though, he built a legacy, and hopefully the coaches that are going to be around and the kids that are going to stay around will be able to pick up right where he left off. That'd be the idea.
And those kids are going to get a lot out of it, and they're going to be able to become better men too. That's the one thing about Chris LaPointe. He not only is a good coach, but he's also making sure that they turn out to be good men.
I've seen that guy cry after a win. I've seen that guy cry after a loss. It means something to him.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
It means something. And that's
what? I'm an emotional guy myself. I am.
Oh, yeah.
I've always been a very emotional person myself.
Yeah.
And, you know the old saying, when you care,
Yeah.
that's when it comes out.
Yeah, man. You see it with him almost on a weekly basis, but
Yeah.
certainly big games along the way you'd see it, and his heart was always in it, always will be.
Yeah.
And it'd be a big loss for Turner's, but again, what he did over the last 7, 8, 9 years, however long he's been here now, it's been amazing. It really
Yeah.
has.
You know, it's guys like you, Hubie, that, you're behind a microphone and stuff, but you do a lot for your community as well, man. And, and you were probably one of the most disappointed guys I probably saw when I found out that you weren't able to coach JV baseball this year at Turner's. That was a really bum deal for you, man.
Yeah.
We were talking over the winter, and your heart was so set on getting
loved it.
excited about being out there on the field.
Loved it.
And, you get told, well, we're not going to have a JV program this year. Boy, that must have been hard for you, man.
It felt bad, actually, because there were a handful of kids that I could think of, I'm not going to say names, but I mean, that they would have had a great year, in a JV program. They would have been my leaders. They would have been my guys. They would have been the ones that go out and learn how to win and how to be a good teammate and how to be a leader. And they lost that opportunity. A lot of those guys had to go up and play varsity, and they didn't play an awful lot.
I agree. And that makes it really tough, guys.
I felt bad about that.
And that's a really good point, because I always said, sitting on the bench as a good player is not going to help you.
No.
I always said this, I would rather know that I can be able to play the JV and be able to play 80% of the time,
of course,
or 90% of the time, every single game,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Then go on varsity and play 10% of the time and sit there and have to be a cheerleader.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a cheerleader.
No.
If I wanted to be a cheerleader, I went out to be a cheerleader. I would have been on the cheerleading squad. I want to be out there to be able to be a part of the team
I could have
and
brought
be able
up,
to play. I want to be a part of the team.
I could brought up 2 or 3 kids from the middle school that would have, been able to have that experience as a young
Absolutely.
JV player, and that opportunity was lost for them. So the big picture part was the part that bothered me, and I'm hoping, I'm hearing, understanding that possibly there could be a co-op between Pioneer and Turner's for baseball, if necessary.
Okay.
So I know that that's something I've heard, and I don't know how far along that's gone, but it sounds like if numbers are down in both schools and for baseball, that there might be something happening there too. So we'll wait and see how that all works out.
So, do you guys think that with Mohawk and some of these other schools, with them losing numbers as well, like we even talked about Greenfield even as well, do you guys feel that eventually it's just going to have to be where people are going to just get together as a group of athletic directors and school committee meetings or whatever, this big meeting, and they're just going to have a big round table and everyone's got to sit down and say, what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think.
Who wants to take the team? Who wants to be responsible for running the team? Like Turner's took on the responsibility to run this program. Greenfield Hockey took on the program so all these other kids from the other schools can go and play.
And in both cases, it made a lot of sense. And
Yes.
there'll be a way. It may not be easy in all sports, but in particular sports, I think that there'll be a meeting of the minds, and they'll be able to figure out a way. It's all about opportunity. If a young man or a young woman wants to play a given sport,
They should be able to.
they should be able to.
I agree with you.
Let's give them that opportunity, and don't you can't just keep making excuses and getting rid of eliminating programs strictly on budgetary reasons. I don't know all the dollar signs and all the numbers, but there has to be a way to provide opportunity.
We were just talking about that earlier, and this comes from the state in the way that they're handling the schools, and that they're really choking the schools out as far as not providing them with enough money to truly do what needs to be done. And so when you look at it, all the other issues we just talked about, then there's that really one main issue, and it's just the state really sees this area as being a 1 or 2 regional school area at some point, and it's kind of what they're pushing it towards. Is now you're going to be seeing the schools combining, and eventually, we'll have 1 or 2 regional schools in the area. How it'll all shake out,
Yep.
who
I think what
knows?
we'll have is we'll have 2 regional schools, and then we'll have our vocational school, which will be the tech school,
Or-
which is
or a
already
combination
open
of
to
something.
Franklin
Yeah.
County, already.
Yeah.
So you're going to be going from all these different high schools down to 3.
Yeah,
And it
basically.
could happen.
Yes.
And I will say, if that is the best outcome for the students, that we do that,
Then you do it for the kids.
then I would do that.
Yep.
Because I'm not married to the idea where we have to keep these Turkey Day rivalries alive. We have
Right.
to keep Mohawk going at all costs. If the thing that makes the most sense, not just fiscally, but just all encompassing, if the best way is just a couple of regional schools and those sports programs are all combined and folded in together, and that's the best for these young men and women,
Yeah, it will be.
then and I can't imagine why it wouldn't be.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
28 years together on the mic. Lots of fun.
Lots of
A lot of memories.
Oh, yeah.
I only was behind the mic with Jeff, I think, 2 times in the 28 years that you guys were together, and one of them was a couple years ago.
Yes,
QB,
I cried the whole way home.
QB,
he wasn't there.
I got to tell you, brother,
I
I got the luck of the Irish that day, and I wanted to say something about Chris LaPointe. Is there a better coach in this area who can run better time management with a clock than that guy?
Let's set the scene.
really
People that are watching wondering what we're talking about.
Yes,
This
please.
2015 season, Western Mass title game, Turner's, Mount Greylock up at Williams College.
Tion Brown.
And this was the Tion Brown-led team.
Correct.
I know, I listened to it on Bear Country.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And I happen to have filled in for a guy that should have been there that day.
Should have been there.
I heard the cruise ship or the airplane didn't make it in on time
we
or
were running
something.
a little bit late, yeah.
Bobby and I are in the booth, fourth quarter. They're down 10. And Bobby, you and I were looking at each other. We were in timeout, and we looked at each other, and we're like, yeah, I think they're screwed. I think they're screwed.
I did, and I did.
And we
did.
loved this team. Not only were they a talented team, they were a lovable team.
They were a lovable team.
And you're thinking, great run. And I'm sick and tired of saying that about the local teams. They have a great run. Then they play somebody out of the district. They play a Berkshire team or, say in basketball, a Central Mass team. End of the line, you say, okay, well, it was a great run. I didn't want to say it was a great run for these guys. I wanted to see them play in the States.
Yeah.
And 2 touchdown drives, bing, bang, touchdown, over, and they advanced to the states, to the state semifinals.
Yep.
You're talking about great moments in 28 years. Even though we didn't share it, you were listening on the radio. But there's been dozens and dozens of moments like that.
That was a memory of a guy who's only done 2 games on the radio on Bear Country.
You picked a good one to do.
I got to tell you. That just brought excitement to me that day. I can't imagine the excitement you guys have had with 28 years together, is my point. Yeah. That was really what my point was.
It makes up for those times, and no disrespect to teams or programs or athletes, but, we'll have a game on a cold November night, and one team just has it over the other. There's a team that's very young, inexperienced. The other team is trying to get to a Super Bowl, and it ends up being, 46-6 or something, and it's cold, and it's an ugly game. Even within those games, it's still fun to do the games.
You find moments that are just...
you find moments in every game.
Yeah. Exactly.
You see, like, the birth of a young star. You'll see a young star come up, you're like, that kid's going to be good. And then in subsequent years, you'll see that he is. But a game like the one that we're talking about, that Turner's Falls playoff game, some of the other games that we've done over the year, involving virtually, we've had good teams at every school at one time or another, all the way through. Yeah. When Shawn and I first started, Mahar was really big.
And Frontier had a run.
Frontiers had many runs. Greenfield during the Mike Dupree era, great run. So each school we've had some great runs and great athletes. But those games, like the one we're talking about, that Turner's Falls tournament game, it makes up for those 46-6 nights where it's cold and it's kind of an ugly game.
How about last Thanksgiving Day, man? We walk away from that field and just go, wow, man, that was just, I didn't want the season to end there. It's like that. No, look at this. It was perfect. It was such a great game back and forth. And
me and Chris Collins took the year off last year from doing the Turkey Day game, right? Yeah. We took the year off for one, because we're doing a little, Chris needed a little regrouping. We need a little break, right? We took a break. One of the best Turkey Day games, I had a chance to sit with my mom and watch the game.
Watch Cousins.
And my nephew ends up catching this bomb by Nooney.
Yeah, I remember.
I know you remember.
I remember.
But I got to tell you something, though, guys.
That was great.
I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't either.
I'm sitting there with my mom, and we're just watching the game, and we're like, Turner's definitely has this one. Looks like Ryan and Turner's are going to.
When Bird ran that in at the gun, man, I'm like, they could have kept him out. You know what I mean? It was right there. The game was on the line, and Bird ran hard and found the end zone on that one, too.
I'll tell you what, there'll come a time when Mike Kacheski is about 80 years old, and someone will come up to him and say, 4th and 23. And he'll know exactly. He'll remember. Yeah.
By the way, in the case at GHS, there is a little thing in there that says 4th and 23.
See?
They put one in there because of the special moment it was for them this past Turkey Day.
Especially for Greenfield, too. Obviously, going through all the years we did, there were many years that Turner's wasn't competitive with Greenfield. There were years that we knew Greenfield was just going to come out and blow them away. for Turners to come out and be competitive has been amazing. For them to go on the run that they went on was amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that game itself, I mean, it could have gone either way, and that's really what you want. I mean, you really want a good ball game, and however it comes out in the end.
Yeah.
And that's so we've been
But
treated to some
the
good
noise
games.
that was at that game, guys, was incredible.
People were into it.
The fans were in both sides, man.
yeah.
It was a back and forth. That was a fun Turkey Day game,
Fun.
guys.
Well,
That was a fun game.
I'll put it to you this way: when I was putting the equipment back into the to the Bear Country vehicle to head home for Thanksgiving dinner, I slammed the hood down and I went to get in the car and I just said to myself, "That's it. That's the one I always wanted to see. That's the Turkey Day game I always wanted to see." There's been some good ones, but that was the one that I always
That
wanted to
was
see.
a special night. I mean, day. But it was weird because we all went back and we all had dessert and after on Thanksgiving, and you got Ryan and Hunter, and they were both great about it. It was a game. But Ryan did admit. He was crushed, man. He really thought they had it.
Well,
he
they
really
had
did.
it.
Well,
they played hard. It's just the way that it went. And that was a great
Touchdowns in
play.
the fourth quarter, man. They were up.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it was theirs for the taking.
It was theirs for the
But
taking.
Greenfield
Yep.
came back and stole it from them. But yeah,
He really did.
It just created a great narrative and a fun game to watch. And yeah, I mean, of all the games we've done, that's probably one of the best ones ever. Really, it was the very last one we did last season.
Well,
But it only brings the excitement back for this year,
That's
guys.
what I'm going to say. That was 2017. Let's close the door on that.
Exactly. You
So-
close the door, and now you open it up, and you're like, hey, you still got Dodgy. You still got Phelps. You still got Campbell back. You still got Nooney coming back. You still got all those players coming back from Turner's because they were so young. So you got these kids all coming back. Yeah, Jaden Whiting.
That kid.
Yeah.
Little Jakey Dodge.
Jakey,
they're gonna use him a lot more
and
now
they
this
picked up
year.
Wyatt Keith, which is a darn good pickup for that team.
Yeah, 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah, now you got
absolutely.
1,000-yard rusher for your team, and you got a 1,000-yard rusher with Bird for Greenfield.
Yep.
So,
No.
So it's so interesting with Turner's Falls, the quote-unquote rebuilding after their great run. It was 1 year of rebuilding, and it wasn't
really rebuilding in record-wise.
and they finished over 500.
It should have been a 2-win.
So
in all reality,
yeah,
in
probably.
all reality,
Yeah, that's
2
a
or 3 wins.
that's
really.
what most of us thought. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
because they started over again. So
sure.
great run for them, and now we bring it up to 2018. In this league, Frontier obviously the dominant team last year, but they lost all those rushers. They're going to have really a different kind of offense. But Frontier's always at least a little bit good, if not very good.
They'll throw the ball a lot more this year. They'll have to.
They'll have to, yeah. You would think.
They'll throw the ball.
You would think, yeah.
And I will
and
say,
guys, and they have the kid to do it.
That's one thing
so.
I wanted to make sure you guys knew is that we can't count out Frontier ever. They
no.
always find a way.
Ooh, no.
They always
No
find ways.
one's counting them out, Bobby.
I have had people say to me, like, oh, yeah, Frontier, they lost all these players. They're going to be really good. They lost all these guys. I'm like, listen, man, it's Frontier. Frontier has athletic kids.
And a feeder
they
program.
have a great feeder program, okay? They've always had a good feeder program. Matter of fact, Mr. LaPointe, his kid is part of that feeder program, okay? That's down at Frontier. That's exactly. Exactly.
Into the area. So, yeah, he had a couple years over there as an
That's
assistant
right.
before he came
So
over to
Frontier is an excellent program when it comes to sports, and they show it year after year in everything they do.
I wouldn't count them
And I'm excited, and I'm excited for the football season. I really am.
Greenfield had that 3-game losing streak, middle of the season. They were a team of runs. They got off to that great start, 3-game losing streak. People are like, what
Went
is
down and got beat by Athol. That was the worst one.
what is going
They got
on?
beat by Athol, and then
there.
they lost to East Hampton, and then they lost to, and then they ended up losing to Tech School on their own field. And
That's
Tech
what
School
started it.
really
That's-
was the one that got them going, and that was a tough loss for them.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, the game plan that was used that day by Gamache and his staff was really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
But you know why? They had a lot bigger line. Even though Greenfield had big line,
Yeah, big line.
they had a big line.
Yeah.
You think about Marty
Plenty
and
of
all
big
those
kids.
big guys. They had some big boys.
Yeah.
Big Laz, they had some big boys.
Yeah.
But that Tech team, those guys did the job, man. They did the job. They stopped Bird. That was the job. You got to stop Bird.
Well, that'll be the job for
and
teams
that's-
this year as well.
Exactly.
But if Greenfield can show some more consistency, I'm over in Shattuck Park with assistant coach John Hickey all the time.
Yes.
And we've been talking football lately. They're tired of playing the non-qualifier games in November.
Yeah, no doubt.
I hate those games.
They have a tough time really firing up the kids to play those non-qualifier games.
I know.
There's always that dip. You play through October. Okay, we're not going to the postseason. You get matched up with whomever one week. Then the next week you wait to see who won and lost. Get matched up with someone else. And then you get fired back up again for Turkey Day.
That's it.
They want to play meaningful games. Aside from Turkey Day, they want to play meaningful games in November. They probably have the team to do it. But they do have to develop more options other than RJ on offense. I mean, RJ is special talent. We know this. What are they going to do around him? And they've graduated a lot of linemen. Las Santiago was great career. He manhandled kids last year, and he's
Marty Brown. They're gone, man. The
they're
big
gone.
boys
So
gone.
a lot of questions.
Throw a little bit more this year.
I think he has to throw this year. That's one thing I think is going to have to happen. Is he's got to get some more attempts. He really does. He has to get some more attempts.
Yeah.
And I don't care if he has to roll out to the strong side and utilize whatever. He's got to do it because if you mix up your play calling, now you can utilize Bird a lot better.
Well, the game between Turners and Frontier over at Turners Falls midseason last year. Now, Frontier ended up winning the game, but that night was a perfect illustration of that. The play fake, the play action, Dodgers play action, and he was throwing to receivers that were wide open against the Frontier DBs. And the Frontier defense at times, they kind of had a rough year. They got burned by a lot of quarterbacks.
I think he hit Crotto with a long pass in that one. I think it was Crotto that caught one down. Remember the sideline pass? Yeah, he was airing it out that night, but the play action was long.
The play action, and again, it goes back to coaching, because if you get a kid who can really sell that it's going to be a run, and then all of a sudden, he has an arm. He's not a big kid, but man, that kid's got an arm on a relatively small body.
And you know what, guys? He's a smart kid.
Oh, he's a smart kid.
He's a smart kid.
Yeah.
He's smart.
Yeah.
He's a smart athlete. Yeah. I love Dodgy, man. Honestly, I love Kyle and Jakey both. I think they're both great kids.
I can't wait to see Jakey.
I got to be honest with you guys. I guess with me being a Little League coach and coaching all the way through for 24 years and the way that our teams all play each other in tournaments and this and that, I've gotten to know all these kids. Yeah. And from basketball, working with you, Jeffrey, during the winter, I know all these kids. And you know what? Most of these kids, 95%, are great kids.
You root for them.
They're great kids, and you want them to do good. You know what I mean? They're such good kids, you want them to do good.
Yeah.
And I look back and I hear about all these things that are happening with these schools and how things are really changing. And I just want the kids that want to play sports to play sports.
Yep, simple.
If you want to do the Key Club because you want to do that, then you do the Key Club. I think the kids, like Jeff said, if they have the opportunity to do it, do it. Because when you become an adult, guys, you're going to go to work every day, and you're not going to have that time anymore, and things are going to change.
Don't
all right?
go too fast.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy is what I think. So, guys, let's talk about a little bit about the group of the league itself. Do you think the league itself is going to be competitive?
It'll be. You mean just within the league?
Within the league. Yes,
that's where I started to go with it.
Yes,
because I think Frontier clearly was
the cream of the crop. Yeah.
And I think they may have come down a little bit. Again, Greenfield was right with them, but they
beat them with that. That was an unbelievable game at GHS. That was crazy.
They had that midseason slump. Turners Falls. We've talked about them. They had a 6-win last year, and they bring in a 6-win season last year, bringing virtually everybody back.
East Hampton will compete. East Hampton will get the numbers. They'll compete.
But think about this, though, guys. You had a team last year that did as good as Turners did, and you just inherited a 1,000-yard back to add to your package.
Exactly.
That's going to bring a lot of extra talk to Turners now. It will, and a good coach.
And again, very different than Dobas going to Frontier last year.
Very different situation.
He's the third back in, and he didn't play a whole lot the first few weeks. So
Wyatt's going to be the guy.
He's going to be the guy right away.
He will be the guy.
Well, I'll tell you, those two Greenfield Turners games, Turners Frontier, Greenfield Frontier.
Turners Tech. We have Turners Tech on the schedule for this year.
Yeah, it's going to be. I can't wait. I can't wait for these games. There are some games that we feel are going to be close that won't, because that's just the nature of it. And there's some games where we're like, okay, that could be a good game, and then it'll be a classic.
Yeah,
it's just the way it shakes out. You never know what's going to happen.
Once in a while, you get an upset, and that's fun to watch too. When you see the unexpected, and
which was that Greenfield game at home against Frontier. That was one of the unexpected.
Hubie and I were at Turners Falls that night, and we were getting text updates.
It was me. I was at the game. It was me. I kept going to Hubie. I'm like, oh my gosh, and then I'm like, during overtime, they're going back and forth. Oh my God! Greenfield just scored. Oh, they stopped Frontier. Awesome. They won, and you were like, oh my God! The OMG comes off.
I wish we were at that game. I mean, that would have been the game to be at that night for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But we are very fortunate in this area to be able to have a radio station do sports.
Absolutely.
Jeff, if it wasn't for you and the commitment that you've made, and I'm being honest about this now, if it wasn't for you and the commitment that you've made to be able to be available to do these games, there would not be, we'd be just like every other radio station in the Valley. It would be no sports for high school kids.
What else are we going to do on a Friday night in the fall?
But Jeffrey, look how many of the TV stations that don't even cover hardly any football anymore. Yeah. If you look at really 40 is the only one that does the Friday night football thing for the kids on TV.
Yeah, years ago
it used to
diminished.
Be everybody, all the stations did it. Jeffrey, all radio stations used to carry games for kids. This is it. Bear Country 95.3 is it.
Yeah, we'll always do it. The coverage of sports has changed. The Springfield TV stations, you don't see them anymore. By and large, certainly not in Franklin County.
Just the Berkshires in Bear Country.
It's a lot of bloggers. It's a lot of .coms. That's just the way it's gone. And you can fight it, you can bemoan it, you can talk about the good old days and everything. But the world has changed. So you're going to see. And I noticed this when we do basketball in the spring, when we go to the States. Following a local basketball team. Here's what you see. You see on press row all these laptops, and there's people. It's live blogging.
It is.
It's live blogging, and which is great. If that's what we bring a little more to it. The actual play-by-play, you hear the crowd and everything.
Absolutely.
So, but listen, hey, if you're somewhere and you can't reach the game, Shawn and I, that's our job, is to bring the game to you. And other people, they're checking out a live blog, and okay, third quarter. This team leads by 7. Okay, and then they're gone.
Yeah. Even Facebook, you see that on Facebook a lot. What's the score? Everybody knows the score of the game.
That's right.
I mean?
Yeah.
But I got some great news.
Yeah.
I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader this year, and I'm going to tell you why. I think it's a wonderful thing that Bear Country 95.3 is now streaming live. And all those people that used to say to me all the time, Bobby C., how come I can't get the Turkey Day game because you guys won't stream?
Now you
in
can.
Florida. I get that all the time, guys, okay?
Same guy,
Yep. Burnham, Mr. Burnham, which is Sackers, which is Jake Sack's grandfather, okay?
Yeah.
I can't get the game. Well, guess what, guys? You can.
Let's go.
You guys are going to be able to provide the opportunity for these people to enjoy the game. Mm-hmm. And you know what? That is huge. Because we have a lot of locals who don't make it back for Thanksgiving, but still, those alumni still care about that Greenfield-Turner's rivalry.
They can have that game on and cook their dinner at the same time.
You betcha.
That's Thanksgiving, man.
You betcha. Yeah. And my mom never went to the games, but my mom listened to that Turkey Day game while she was cooking dinner, and Dad and us boys would be there watching the games. But my mom would love to listen to the game, and now she has grandkids that are playing against each other like last year and stuff. And so it's a different scene. It's awesome. It is awesome, guys.
But here's the thing. If people think they're going to bring their phones to a game and bring up the Bear stream, it's in a delay. So don't get too close to the booth because it'll screw us up. We're going to hear. We're going to hear ourselves in delay.
That is so true. Hey.
So keep those phones away from the broadcast booth. That'll screw us up.
That is so true because you guys are on the 10-second delay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's for him. That's not
for me. Pretty much.
One of the things that I've learned about our local area is that we do have very passionate parents. And I really think, and I have to give a lot of credit to these parents, I think that our sportsmanship amongst parents has gotten better in this area with this group of kids. I don't see any really bad situations that are coming up amongst families talking about a really bad person doing really bad things. Right. Have you guys noticed that the sportsmanship amongst parents and the support has been pretty good for just the small group of kids that are playing on all these teams now?
I think at the high school level, yes. I think it's mostly been fine. There's isolated incidents or isolated people that aren't my favorite. And I still remember who they are. And
as you will always remember those people, unfortunately.
It's about perspective. I think sometimes parents lose perspective on what this really is about. And they have the same passion for their children that their children have for the sport, but it blinds them. It changes their perspective. I think I saw it more at the lower levels of sports, youth sports now, and I think it's a much bigger problem at that level.
Do you know
I
why?
would not want to be an official in coaching at that level. Right. It's really, really hard
but
because of parents.
Do you know why kids don't want to play sports because of these incidents that are happening at the lower level. Parents, they're like, my kid's a 6th grader, and we're going to games, and these parents are acting like animals. So they're like, if they're doing this at 6th grade, what are they going to do when my kid's a high schooler? Is there going to be like people beating each other up in the stands? I mean, this is the kind of things that go through a parent's mind, especially the single mom who is pretty protective of her children, and she's going to the games, watching her son or watching her daughter, and watching a couple of really, really bad parents at that level at making really a scene and thinking about what the future holds for those kind of people and what's going to happen later.
Well, Bobby, what provokes that bad behavior by parents? There's any number of things, but the one thing that I wish parents would just get over is when they look at their kid and they see a chance at a college career, scholarship, full ride in a sport, and maybe a professional career. No less an authority than Bobby Orr. I saw an interview with Bobby Orr once, and he told the interviewer, do you know how many camps that I went to as a youth player? 0. He played baseball in the spring. He played other sports. He played hockey during hockey season. Then he would play street hockey in the off season, but he looked forward to baseball season as much as hockey season when he was a kid. The only time he ever went to a hockey camp, was as an instructor after he turned pro. His whole experience was just go and have fun with minimal intrusion by parents. Just kids playing sports and figuring it out. If they're, kids playing together, if there's a dispute about a rule or what, kids generally, they figure it out and they keep playing. Then you get parents who look at, my son should be playing more because I'm going to send him to, he's going to play, say, baseball year round. He's going to play, basketball year round. You're going to send him to this, 5-star camp in Michigan or something. Come on, let's get realistic here.
And I'm going to bring up 2 athletes, professional athletes, 2. Okay? Number 1, a guy by the name of Mark Chimera. Mark Chimera, I don't think he ever thought that he was going to be a pro athlete. He was a good football player. Boston College recruited him. They made him a great tight end, guys. But because he was a smart kid, athletic kid, and played all sports, he played all 3 sports, guys. He did not key on one sport. He played basketball in the winter, he played football in the fall, and he played with his friends in the spring with baseball and did what all the kids do, okay? So that's him. He turned out to be one of the best tight ends. If he was able to continue his career and didn't have neck injuries and other things that went down in his career, I bet you he could be sitting in the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio right now.
Wasn't that far.
He was on his way.
He was on his way, guys. And there's a guy who literally, his parents were not putting any pressure on that kid at all.
Yeah.
Another kid, Pete Bergeron, guys.
I knew you were going to say Peter.
I had to say Peter. Why? Peter played 3 sports. Peter, honestly, was good at everything he did. But you know what? Peter just liked to go out and have fun.
Yep.
He just wanted to have fun.
Yep.
And what happened to him? He made it as one of the rare kids to make it. Mark Chimera was one of the rare kids to make the professional level.
I got to tell you, just because I hadn't thought about this in years, but I remember I was talking to Stan Benjamin, and this was back when Mark was first going to BC.
Yeah.
And we were talking about him, and I said, "Is he going to make it at BC?" I mean, again, he's from Frontier, right? So it's kind of like, wow, and you know what? They're going to put 40 pounds of muscle on that kid, and they're going to teach him, and they're going to teach him how to catch a ball. And
kid had great hands, and the kid could block like there was no tomorrow, couldn't he? And that kid's legs were friggin' like steel, guys.
Big man. But they trained him right. They taught him right. And again, he had the raw goods to be able to do that.
Darn right.
Same with Pete.
And Pete was the same way, So there's an example of a couple of local kids, all right? They didn't go to camps year round on one sport, guys.
Right.
They played all sports. It fell into place for them, and they had it happen. I think Jeffrey brought up a really good point on that. And I think
like I said, that Bobby Orr interview really was an eye opener for me. He said, youth hockey, they teach them a lot of play. They teach them the trap and all this stuff. Little kids, and he's saying, just let them play, let them play hockey like I did. And am I going to argue with Bobby Orr?
Yeah, right.
Hell no.
No, exactly.
You're absolutely right.
Pretty good, yeah.
So where do you guys see yourselves in 10 years? You see yourselves still having some fun behind the mic? You guys.
10 years. I'm trying. I can't plan. I can't plan 10 months down the road.
Would you guys be thinking about be able to do this in your guys' 60s?
It's always, for me, it's always been year to year.
Year to year for you?
This has always been, it's never been a commitment of any kind. It was,
Yep.
I mean, it's just, we're going to do it next, we'll do it again next year, and
Yep.
With different jobs that I've had, different jobs that Jeff has had through the years, we've been fortunate enough to still both be able to be able to do this. And, I think, you never know. For me, the end of the season's always sad because you don't know if that'll be our last game. But
it's funny. I think the only thing that would probably bum me out is when the day that the radio station just said, we're going a different direction. We don't want to do the sports anymore. Year to year. And that's when you always say to yourself, that would be the bummer. Especially when you're still primed to want to do it. So I look at it as, from what I've seen of being involved with the radio station for a lot of years myself, that it seems like the people really like it. The sponsors seem to support it.
Always.
And I think that as long as you guys got the people that are willing to do it is the key. And that's where I was saying that we really need the good quality people to do those shows. And guys like you two are quality. You really are.
Yeah. And we need programs to cover. So that's so you're talking about 10 years down the road.
What is going to be happening in 10 years locally with football?
What will high school football in Western Mass look like 10 years from now? For me personally, I'm just this is what I do, but it's always subject to change.
Sure.
And when the day comes, I'm not doing this anymore. It's not going to be a big deal. It really isn't. The show is the kids.
It is.
It really is the kids, and there'll come a time when I'm not doing the games anymore, and I hope when that day comes, I can just take one of these and hang it up and say thank you, and move on to the next thing.
Well, let me tell you, buddy, when you retire, I'm going to personally buy a Jeff Tirrell bobblehead just for you to have for your future.
The fact that we're even talking about that R word, and I know it's coming up for all of us at this table.
Guys,
what we should do is go over to Greenfield and have them name that press box after this guy.
That would be wonderful. I would love that. I would love that, bud.
No reason to.
No. And you know what? I'd be there with my nice little poster as well, because we both know what he's done, and an alumni of that school as well. I think it surely does. And it's a guy who dedicated so much of his time to the kids. You guys have dedicated a lot of time to the kids, but let's ask you this big question: What would you guys do if you guys ended up finding out tomorrow that there's just going to not be, we're not going to have football. It's done. Do you guys still get up on Friday nights off your couch and go to support the kids and go watch these games? Or do you try to see if there's a way to be able to maybe do some kind of, find a way to get those games on? I always said that there was going to be a way that I was going to be able to represent myself because of how much I love sports, and that's how I started this show. Yeah. Guys, Franklin County Varsity Sports Report started because of me and the passion for these kids. I swear to God, that's all it's about. It's about the kids. And I didn't want them to be shortchanged. I felt that if we can get our local access TV station to be able to have a weekly show where the kids can be named with all of their, achievements each week, that's something we're doing for the kids. Yeah. Shawn, that's why I asked you to come on board to be one of the underwriters and asked you guys to do this, is because it's for the kids, and there's nobody else that we do this for but them. I just don't want the kids to give up on us, is how I look at it. I want sports to continue in this area. I want the kids to be able to still go out and compete. But I also want the parents to understand that the pressure and the way that the pressure and the hazing and the attitude problems that are happening around us, I hope that doesn't discourage these kids from wanting to put a uniform on. And that is something that we have to continue to stress, is the fact that we need these kids to not have so much pressure so they can go and have fun enjoy their high school careers, enjoy their high school time, and be able to build friendships, hopefully build teamwork, and hopefully, most importantly, become better people.
Yeah.
That is what we need, guys.
I think if to go back to your question, I think if the station decided tomorrow that there was not going to be football on the radio anymore, I would probably still be interested in maybe doing the PA or possibly coaching.
Exactly.
Like so,
because you still got that passion in the field, right?
I'd step away from the mic if I had to, but I don't know that I'd step away from the game.
And I'm a media guy.
Yes, you are.
Shawn is by extension, but Shawn's more. I mean, he's in the community, he sponsors all these sports teams, and so he's on a different level. For me, I'm a media guy.
Yes, you are.
And there's all kinds of platforms now. There used to be very few, but now the world has changed. So, personally, to answer your question, if that day came, I would look at other platforms and see if there's a fit. If there's a fit, great. If not, again, I gladly say so long.
Yep. You know, when I got told that I had the opportunity to put this together, and they said, "Yeah, we'll do it," it's we're over 2 years now, guys, of doing this. Now it's been 2 years.
Great.
He's been with me since the beginning. Is one of them. This show's fun, and the kids, they tell each other, and they're like, "Hey, Bobby C was talking about us," and the kids love that.
Of course.
They do. And the best part about it is it's online. Kids are online, so they can go right to the website of GCTV and they can see what they want. Their parents are great about posting everything. Oh my God, or you'll see something talked about in an interview, and all of a sudden, all the parents of the team are all being done by the mother. Oh my God! So
I think it was Aaron Landry last year, actually, after their Turkey Day game, and we always try to get out if we can't before the game, at least afterwards, and especially at the end of the season to congratulate the kids. And I think it was Landry, and he said, "Hey man," he goes, "Thanks for making me sound good." And I'm like, "Oh, that's easy, man. I'm just talking about what you're doing. You know what I mean? I'm not making you sound good. But they get it. They listen to it. They appreciate it, and we have a good time doing it. So sometimes we'll come up with a nickname for a kid, or something fun, and just to highlight their experience, and then to make it just fun for them too, and we have fun doing it. So,
this is their Sports Center moment. 99.9% of them will not play it at a much higher level. Some of them will play college ball, but usually this is it. Usually by the time they leave their local high school, they're done.
Especially for football.
Yeah, especially for football.
I agree.
Very few
football,
go on to play
definitely
football
for football.
So this is their Sports Center moment. I mean, when you play your Thanksgiving Day rival, you score a couple of touchdowns, and you're with your classmates, and all right, we went out, we won. We went out. This is it. The last game I ever played for my school, we won. That's your Sports Center moment. If we could help out with that, it's awesome.
And you do.
We have fun with it.
Jeff Tirrell, Shawn Hubert, they're my guest here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, everyone. Hubie's been one of our sponsors, Albert Hearing Services, also Four Leaf Clover and Denny's Pantry. They've been a part of this. Philippe Simone, been my producer, and just been a big help to this show. When I sit back and I think about how the last 2 years have gone with this program, I will tell you that I feel very blessed in the fact that I've been able to make many people happy, whether it's grandma, whether it's mom and dad, or the child itself. But the one thing that I think makes it more gratifying for me is the fact that, you said it, the platform for the coverage now has gotten so much better. How do you feel knowing that this year, guys, Bear Country 95.3 will be able to stream live every single game this year on Bear Country for every sport? This means that the new basketball season coming up will have that available. The new football season will have that available. You guys have opened up an opportunity for grandma who lives in Pennsylvania, who doesn't get a chance to get out to see, or the kids get out to see her much, but be able to hear her grandson on the radio.
And we try to mention every kid at some point, and even, I was thinking about this not too long ago. I remember our first few seasons when they bring the kids off the bench, we didn't really pay a lot of attention. Those last 2 minutes, it was probably a blowout game. And,
right.
And as we kind of matured and realized what this was all about, now we make sure that we get every kid's name in there. Every kid that comes off the bench, even in the last 2 minutes of the game. Because it's important that somebody knows that the kid's on the field. He's been working hard all season long, and he gets the last 2 minutes of a game. Those are important 2 minutes to that kid.
He played.
And I do the same thing. And even when I'm doing my mentions of all the kids that scored in a game, even that kid that came in and only scored the one bucket in the last 2 minutes, guess what? He got a bucket, man. And he was only in for 2 minutes, but guess what? In 2 minutes, he scored a hoop. That kid needs to be recognized. So that's why we do that.
Well, people that end up doing that, I'm not talking about Hubie specifically, but just people like myself. We're the ones. We're in this business because we were that guy who got in at the end of the game and scored that one bucket.
Very much so.
I was that guy.
Very much so.
You know, I look back at how sports have changed, and I look back how support systems have been. You know, I look back at some of the feeder programs, and we're pretty lucky guys. Greenfield Minor League Baseball, Frontier Baseball, their program down there, New Gilbo in Turners. We got some good feeder programs for them. Murphy Park. Look at the girls softball programs now, guys.
Fantastic.
Guys. Yeah. They're pretty good, okay? We got some pretty good softball players around here, the young ladies. Good young female athletes around here, a lot of them, okay? You look at the programs of the coaches. Aaron Thayer, great field hockey coach, wonderful job. You got Melissa Maher, Melissa Phillips, she used to be at Frontier. You think about who Hobner up at Mohawk. Guys,
Shawn
there's
McDonald.
some really Shawn McDonald. Volleyball is incredible at Mully. You'll never find a Gary Mullins anywhere ever.
Sush.
Tom Shushnick, come on, man.
We could go on all night.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, guys, is we got to throw Crystal Point in there too, guys. You got to throw them in there. You know, think about the good quality coaches.
How about Al Dean?
Al Dean. What about Al? You know that I ran into Al Dean, and he said he's excited about this year.
He is. He gets excited
Do you
every
know
year.
that he used to coach me in 8th grade football?
Yeah, me
Guys, 8th grade was a long time, Jeffrey, wasn't it?
It was a long time.
Yeah.
And Al looks exactly the same.
40 years ago, to be exact. 40 years ago.
You know,
Al
I love
Dean.
that guy.
Unsung. You know what I mean? Just a guy that's been there the whole time. You don't see his name in the headlines an awful lot. You don't see pictures of him in the paper. But the guy's been there doing this thing and enthusiastically. And he's taught a lot of kids, man. And he's really good at what he does.
He is great. Thank you for throwing that out because Al Dean's another one who deserves. And, you know, we talk about Dick Howe. You brought up his name earlier. You know, Dick Howe, there's a long-time assistants going back to even the old days of Frontier. Back when, what was the coach name there?
Myron
Kozak.
Yeah,
Thank
Rock.
you. Yeah,
He
the Rock.
coached under Rock.
Yeah, he coached under the Rock, and then he really succeeded him, and he ended up
Oh,
having the team.
Coach Smith. Look at Coach Smith. How many years we got to enjoy him at Mohawk and down at
Smith,
Tech.
he leaves DA after all those years, goes up, takes on the Mohawk program. Then he does the dead. What is it? The something duck. There was a
the ruptured duck.
The ruptured duck. Yeah.
We almost saw him die one night. We were scared. He was standing along the sidelines. And the play rolled his way, and there were just 2 or 3 big kids. He ended up under the bench. He ended up like literally getting rolled and pushed, and the whole place went dead silent. We're like, I mean, he was probably in the 70s, late 70s then.
He must,
Close to early 80s. Wow. And they pulled him out of there, and he dust himself off, and he went right back down.
He's
oh my God.
Unbelievable guy, man.
And a great coach.
So guys, no one can say that we haven't had tools to give the athletes the tools to be good people and better athletes.
Yeah.
We have the tools.
Good coaches.
You just got to come and participate.
Well, again, comparing the world of 2018 to, 10 years ago, certainly 20 years ago, and before that, it's like a completely different world. I think it doesn't necessarily have to be sports. It can be any number of things, and it could be sports at a completely different level. It doesn't have to be interscholastic sports, although that's what I'm into,
Right.
representing your school. But it could be anything, but just participating in things. A high school experience shouldn't just be you go to school and you play Xbox.
Well, whether it's music or if it's theater or any of the other things that are, I mean, that's just to be involved in anything is.
You got one of the best performing arts centers that's built them into a great enterprise, a great business, and that's Chaduke. Chaduke, you can start as a 3-year-old and go all the way up into high school, okay? If you're into theater and you're into that stuff, you have a place that you can go.
Absolutely.
And it's and they welcome you with open arms, okay? That's just an example of that. Music is anywhere, man. Go watch any kind of the talent shows that are on and look how many young, beautiful, talented kids have voices that are just amazing. I don't care. I'm watching these 7-year-old kids who are like, they sound like they're 25 guys, and they're 8.
Yeah.
So there's opportunities, but you got to put the effort in to be able to get the result. And if the kids are willing to put in the effort, I guarantee you things will turn out good for a good result.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And that's what we need to think about for all these kids.
Yeah.
No doubt.
If it's fun for them,
Yep.
then I think they'll participate. If there's a lot of other garbage going on, then maybe they don't.
Well, and
that's
winning
sad.
too. Winning helps. It creates. If you don't want to join a team that's going to win one game. You don't want to go out and work that hard and not compete. So, that helps too if you can win a few ball games, and that'll make other kids want to be a part of that.
Yes. And, I always believe that the other key is that you can't quit. You can't quit. If you had a tough year, you have to. You have to continue to play together as a team. The better that you work together, the better the result. That's why they're called team sports. If you want to be an individual player, play golf, go play bowling,
Tennis.
do something like that.
Sure.
Yep. Guys, our time's up.
Yeah.
All right, Bob.
Great time. Thank you guys so
Thank
much
you.
for being a part
Thank
of this.
you.
Hey, good luck in the 2018 season.
Gonna be a good one.
We will get all the information and the schedules up so everybody can be able to see. Will the Bear Country schedule be on the Bear Country website for people to take a look?
It'll go up this week.
It'll go up this week.
Yeah, but
Okay.
But again, the first broadcast is Friday night,
Yeah.
the 7th, at Franklin County Tech. First home night football game,
the lights
Tech
up.
against Mohawk.
And I'm not missing any games this year, so don't even
Good.
think about it.
Okay,
Don't
great.
even think
And
about
by
it.
the way, just to let you know, I will be at Turkey Day this year. Me and Chris Collins will be there for
Perfect.
Turkey Day.
Looking forward to it already.
On behalf of Jeff Tirrell and Shawn Hubert, the two guys from Bear Country 95.3, 28-year relationship behind the mics, longer as friends. We're very fortunate to be able to have them as part of our show here today. Want to thank our sponsors again. We want to thank Shawn Hubert and Hubie's, the tavern and restaurant right there on Avenue Way in Turners Falls. Also by Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield. Also by the Four Leaf Clover Restaurant located in Berniston and Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield. For me, Bobby C., Philippe Simone, and the staff here at GCTV, and also Shawn, good old Johnny Meisner. Glad to have him on here, our new producer who's going to be helping us out. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week. Have a great week, everyone.
Now, where did I put that ball?